Well, all right. So we kind of talked. We started talking about it. We started diving into it, talking about ego. And the chapter that we are talking about today in Extreme Ownership is called "Check the Ego." So I've stated this.
Check it out. Sorry, that kind
So I've stated this before, and I'll state it again. I This chapter is a good chapter in the sense that it's a good topic to talk about. In my this is all my opinion. And Phil, I think, has shares a slightly different one. Um, I think it's good. Oh, sure. See, ego. Um, it's a good chapter because it's good, a good subject to cover, especially in the topic of leadership and business and special forces and things like that. But I do feel like it's not as strong of a chapter as other books out there. I think that there are other books that are much better at talking about ego and exploring ego than this chapter. I think it's just I think this one's just very focused on the practical aspects of it. So
which is fair. It's good to at least flush it out. I mean, it's not a dichotomy of leadership after all.
you think that book was better than this one?
Yes, actually. I think they. So this book is great. It's kind of like the kindergarten of leadership, and he's probably going to hate me for for saying that, but they realized a lot of the stuff they said is half bullshit, but all right. Do I have to throw a coin for that, or
Yeah, you do. Phil, if you ever if we ever get to sit down with Jocko and Leif, you need to tell that to them. You just absolutely 100% need to tell that to them. They will laugh at it and they will probably love you for it.
no? This will probably get back to him. I'm gonna get like a bomb in my mail or something and said, you know what? We agree with you. We just can't have you saying in public.
All right. So this chapter didn't really start out with a full blown anecdote. Let me double check actually because I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Cover and move. Check the ego.
Yeah, it was kind of buttery, but the case study was really good. The business correlation was good.
Yes, the business part was really good. Um,
And the example so here's the thing. They all know leaders that they could have put in there, but it's so inappropriate to say it.
yeah, you are definitely correct on that. I think one of the big things that popped out in my mind for this chapter, as far as anecdotes, so they jumped to a bunch of different anecdotes and things like that, but the one that popped out in my mind was how special forces have relaxed standards. So everybody's watched some sort of special forces movie, right? And at least modern movie. I guess the best example might be American Sniper. And they've seen pictures of and the movie and seen the people where the special forces guys are beards, long scraggly hair. Their uniform is all over the place. They have very they tend to have very relaxed standards, and that goes way back. What is that?
This is my remote control of love. It's for the air conditioner.
Anyway, they have some very it's just like a part of their culture and such. And part of the problem with that being a part of their culture is not necessarily with them. It doesn't mean that they are any less professional of warfighters as any other unit out there. The problem is their interaction with the other branches, other forces. And so them having a relaxed standard kind of puts them at odds again with like the army, for example. They use the army as as an example here. And in the army, their standards are not relaxed. They're very what would you call it, like not hardcore about it, because the Marine Corps is hardcore about their standards.
No, the Marine Corps is not hardcore about standards. The Marine Corps is standard. So there's a difference. Like, you know, God is a Marine, and God created standard and logic, right? So a Marine is not about standards. It's just part of their soul.
It's the whole God created the world in 6 days, and the Marines have been running it ever since.
Yeah. My father is a Marine. I have so much love for these guys. This is a big side topic I'm not going to run into now.
Let's not do that. Yeah, because it is a big one to me as well. But long and short of it is, every other service, they still have to follow the standards of their service. So like grooming, keeping your uniform, everything, all that stuff. All right, stop laughing. Um,
No, I'm sorry. It's just I remember going to the Army of One, and then I remembered we won't ask, don't tell, and and then uh, yeah, transitioning. Anyways, moving on.
moving on.
It's not about my ego this time.
No, it's not. That was good though. That was a good Freudian slip, so to speak. So anyway, the whole getting on topic is we're about to dive into another one. The point is,
We'll circle back.
oh god, I'm gonna send you a video soon. Hold on, let me write this down. I gotta write this down because I gotta send you this video. You will die.
While you're doing that, I just want to interject. One of the things that came to my mind on this one, just the example they gave, right? I'm not going to elaborate much. There's a platoon leader, or I don't know if it's a platoon or what it was, but there's some guys that came into working with them, and they just wouldn't communicate, right? They wanted to have the resources when they wanted to call in fire for support, but when asked where they were going, they gave a four grid quadrant, which is essentially a kind of big area. It's like we're in Baghdad, right? The east side of Baghdad, which doesn't help prepare anybody for anything. And I mean, yeah, right. So they really gave a ton of examples, but I thought this was the best example. And because my ego is bigger than yours, I'll say it's better than yours.
We have a big ego fight going on in this episode.
This episode is so fun. I can be silly.
We're gonna put a poll here at the end of the episode, and we're gonna ask the audience who do you think whose ego is bigger than the others? Who?
It should be three answers: Alan, Phil, mine.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I think I know which one's going to win.
I have no clue. So my view of it was like, I like the idea, the one of the relaxed standards, because like the special forces took pride in that. They took pride in the aspect of we have relaxed standards, and so like their ego was very much like, oh, we're better than the conventional forces because we can follow these relaxed standards and things like that. And so but Jocko recognized and looked at that and saw, well, wait a second, if we want to work with these guys, we have to we have to what do you call it? We have to match their standards. We have to follow the same thing because we need to work with them and work with them well. And a lot of the guys under him grumbled and complained about that a lot. So, but anyway,
Yeah. Sometimes fitting in bruises the ego.
yep, completely. And that's one of the one of the aspects of what we were talking about with the Marines. Like the Marine Corps has an ego. Like any Marine that you run into and you talk to, they have an ego. and their ego is generally very much the Marine Corps is the best, and they are her. It's not like it's not wrong, but at the same time, it's I don't know how to describe it.
For the mission, it's perfect. For their mission, it's perfect.
Yes, yes, 100%. Exactly. And like one of the things that they do in their very well in their basic training is that they break down your ego. They break it down completely and then rebuild you as a member of the Marine Corps. Like you are no longer you are a Marine. You are a part of the Marine Corps.
A step closer to God.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, anyway, yep. So there's just like that's kind of what they were talking about throughout it. You're right about the one anecdote about that guy, and it was interesting because he ended up like that unit ended up getting kicked out of Ramadi.
Well, so there's two parts, right? So first of all, the special forces left them, and they're like, okay, you know what? We're not going to help you anymore. You're not for us. They went around somewhere else and make big changes somewhere else, and this other group all of a sudden became second to crap. That was my feeling. Um, and I may even know who that was. Anyways,
Shh. No divulging secrets.
yeah, because I don't know any. But what's was interesting is finally they had a big objective that they wanted to do, and these guys somehow got put into the area, right? But they wouldn't let them participate. They ended up having to be essentially what I they probably got put on security detail for the base.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't play together. Learn to check your ego. Or so it's like if your kid goes to kindergarten, you can't play together because he's all that, doesn't want to share his toys. Maybe same thing. I don't know. I don't know actually.
Along those lines with that, like it kind of their ego kind of made them blind to just being able to understand that they were the issue. Like one of the hardest things to do when for anybody, I think, in any situation when you come into when you come into conflict with someone, your ego kind of gets in the way of you being able to recognize that maybe you are the issue in that situation. Maybe something within you or something you are doing is causing you to not see the correct criticisms and stuff that somebody may be giving you. So a good example I can give everybody is from a business side, from a tech side. Whenever you're in programming, in software engineering, we have what are called retros. We do 2 week sprints. So at the end of 2 weeks, we do what's called a retro. And very often that's like, okay, what did we do well in the last 2 weeks? What kind of work do we need to improve on? And what didn't work at all? And we need to fix this now. And too often what ends up happening within those meetings is somebody brings up an issue and says, this did not work for us at all. And then somebody gets upset because
2 weeks on that because they spent 2 weeks on that crap that didn't work, and they realized they should have done it in like 3 days. Realized they should have backed off, but it's hard to back off.
well, it's not just and it's not just that either. It's also the processes. Like one of the things that we talk about in retros, and one of the things that we try to focus on is not necessarily like code or things like that. We try to focus on the processes uh, behind what you call it behind the team. Like every team has a process in place for certain things, and so during retros we try to talk about the processes, we try to talk about the behaviors, and we try not to focus on, hey, so and so did poorly, they did a terrible job, things like that. And we try to focus on the behaviors of the team and the processes, and we're trying to improve those. But very often, what happens, as I said, is like somebody gets upset and they freak out because it's their idea. Their process was their idea. Like that whole thing, they were the ones who set it up. It's theirs. And so they identify themselves with that process. That's a bad thing. Like, don't ever, if you're ever like coming up and creating a process or doing something, don't identify yourself with that process. Just say, okay, this process, I may have come up with it, but it may not be right. It may not be the end all be all type thing. And so when people start um identify themselves with their process, they can't separate themselves. They can't separate their ego from that process. So anytime anybody comes in and starts criticizing the process, the person then sits there and thinks, oh, you are criticizing me. And so then their ego takes over and they can't accept the criticism, however valid it is. And they get upset and they freak out. And I see that too many times in retros. It's really, really bad. So
Process should be a four-letter word.
it's a 6-letter word, or is it 7-letter word? It's a 7-letter word for you.
Only when I say it, because otherwise it's spectacular when it's mine. Because it's always right. Because my processes are perfect and yours are shit.
One of these days, you were gonna break you of that. Anyway, you did make a good comment here about using ego to hide fear and inadequacy. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Fine, I'm going to be Mr. Sensitive today. Um, it's obvious, right? When you're not about to tap out, when you get upset that somebody gave you feedback that's not constructive on your process, it's natural to expand your ego, right? To pound some chest a little bit, rather than on the moment stepping back and saying that. But with a little bit of meditation, you can feel that ego expanding, your heart speeding up, and you should learn to shut up and hear people out. And I only say this from a huge amount of experience of being the one that should have shut up.
That was not you at all. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. None of this affects my ego, right? Because that's the other Phil. And this one is perfect
uh,
and beautiful. So the but I'm a big fan of.
man, I wish I had a Trump voice because I could do something with that, but I can't. I don't have a Trump voice.
You should have try it. Give it a try. Give it a try. It's okay. Your voice is spectacular, anyways. Anyway, anywho, more about me and my ego. But the other side is to cover up fear. A lot of people just hide between a greater sense of self and sometimes suffer, and I think that's great because you learn from that. Nothing like having a broken arm in jiu-jitsu to learn that you shouldn't have done that.
It's very true. I do like that we brought it back to jujitsu. I absolutely appreciate that.
I just want to make it about you a little bit.
It's so nice of you. You're so kind. You like to stroke my ego.
It's a big one. And after much grooming, it is almost as beautiful as you.
I don't know. I feel like we've covered a lot about ego and how bad it is, and I'm sure we'll probably get to another book where we talk about ego in even more depth. But let's kind of dive into the business application anecdote that they talked about.
Before that, they I think it's Leif. I don't have the Leif. I don't have the book, so I don't know who makes these quotes. Um, but there's a quote that says the most difficult ego to deal with is your own. And everyone has an ego, and ego drives the most successful people in life. So the I thought that was a powerful quote because I mean not everybody has an ego like me, but they should, right? If they're as good as me. And the it's good to know that ego's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning, where yeah, your ego can be bad if it causes you to do something that is harmful, and that harm could be
Or if it's your ego and not mine.
ha ha ha. And that harm could be something physical to you, but it could also be something. Well, like you could be damaging a relationship with your ego, like because all of our conversations devolve to this. Actually, you know what? I was watching something yesterday. It was a Q&A, and this woman asked this guy, this guy who was talking about marriage. It was like a marriage conference, and the woman, actually, yes, or no, 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 10 of 10, I would say.
I'd say one in there is from abuse, maybe.
That's a good point. You're right. I can't argue with that aspect of it. So this woman basically came to the guy who's giving marriage advice, and she was saying, I've had enough. I'm ready to divorce my husband. I just want to go back to the carefree lifestyle of being single." And he came and said, here's the issue. The issue is like marriages are being destroyed by the attitude slash belief that I am not, let's see, I am not going to continue to do this if the other person is not going to, oh my gosh, I gotta look this up right now because it is going to burn my head. I'm gonna hold on. It was such a good.
I'm not going to fill this space.
That's right. This is what it is. So he says that all marriages end up ending when one person sits there and says, "I won't do my part if the other person won't do theirs."
Was that in the vows? Did he? Was that something he said in front of everybody? I think that boy had no fucking balls.
He was saying that in the whoa, what the you can watch this on your own at some point. It's so good though. But basically, like, she is sitting there saying, "I'm getting ready to leave my husband. I want to leave." And he's like, look, a lot of marriages devolve when one spouse starts saying, "I will not do my part if they will not do theirs." The whole idea being that one person gives up working on the marriage while the other person does not. Like, there's just a lot of different. It's just awful. Um, the whole point is, like, that's an ego thing right there too, because you're sitting there, you're saying, "I am, look at me, look how amazing I am putting all of this effort into the marriage, and they aren't even acknowledging it. How dare they?" You are going to have an interesting comment. Yeah, marriage is not transactional. Phil just typed that in. That is 100% true. It is so true. But
It's about suffering for life.
life is about suffering. Life is about taking up your cross
Right?
every day and suffering. Um, like, that is one of the things that the Buddhists have, in my view, 100% correct. Because they view life as suffering. Anyway, um, so it's all about that ego, that ego of, "Look at me, look how awesome I am," and they're not acknowledging it. They need to acknowledge it, and because they're not acknowledging it and they're not doing it, I give up, I'm done. It's all about that ego. It's all about that. And so that's when divorces happens and everything. So, anywho, let's see. So, what? So, do you remember the business anecdote? You actually remember these anecdotes better than I do. Dive into it
All
if you want.
right. So I actually took notes because I thought this was a good one. Let's say Gary, which was the fictional name, so I can use Gary, was a mid-level uh, manager for a drilling company, and he was having a conflict with one of the drilling, what would you call them, crew chiefs, um, who tried to resolve a problem on his own, and ended up causing a couple days of the drill not operating. And I guess this is a big deal because every day a drill is down is to around $200,000 of lost profit income. Yeah, right. So the guy cost probably everybody their bonuses. Um, but that wasn't put in there, right? I'm elaborating. So he was pissed off because he thought Gary thought the superintendent was doing it intentionally to spite him, right? He's like, he should have called me, and if he called me, I would have given him the right answer, right? And the superintendent's probably like, this guy doesn't know crap. Tell me if I have to throw a jar. But this guy doesn't know nothing, and he just tried to fix the problem, and ended up not working, right? Now it goes on to say that this guy, this crew chief, is really good, and if Gary pisses him off too much, he'll go to work for another company really quick without skipping a beat of income, maybe get a bonus, right? It'll be a loss for his company. Um, so Gary's words was the superintendent refused to run that through him, right? And this is a quote. And the then he talks about how making the wrong call cost him a lot of money. Now I'm going to like this is just me speaking, right? Um, I have maybe seen some higher up people that think they would have made the great call while they're sitting on their sofa not knowing crap, right? So I don't know if Gary's right. He might have been right. Um, Knowing what I know from people with a lot of experience is, the guy might have not have been able to get the right part in for a week or two and try to make the best choice he could have with what he had, despite maybe he's missing some details, and that was a problem, right? But I think it's Leif that asks Gary, says, he didn't really ask. He's like, was the guy pushing the boundaries just to see what you do, right? Is he just kind of like a kid pushing the limits of the relationship, right? And that the Gary's like, that's how he felt. Like he was just being challenged like a man, right? Like, is this guy seeing if I have manhood or not, right? And I'm sure Gary's thinking like, I should fire him. I should light his rig on fire with him tied to it and make an example of him to all those who defy me. No, not that I have any experience with understanding what an ego is. So, and then Leaf goes, "Can you afford to lose him?" And he goes, "Well, no, no." Then he's like, "Well, you got to check your ego and talk to him probably in a particular way, right?" And the exact words were is that you have to go there and say, "I messed up. Our team made a mistake because of me." His actual term was, "Our team made a mistake, and it's my fault." Right? And I think there's a lot of. I'm just side tangent. I think there's a lot of marriages that might be able to be saved by saying, "We have a problem here, and it's my fault." Right? Uh, I'm just going out on a limb on there. I've had to say it before. Normally, I'm totally at fault. I know that, but but I own it and I have fun with it. So when you have a big ego, you can own those mistakes uh, because you have the balls after all, right, men? Um, there goes my friends. Um, but this was a hard hit to Gary, right? He doesn't want to say it's my fault, right? he's there. He's like, I wasn't there. If he had called me, right, I would have avoided the problem because I know better. Or if I was the superintendent, I would have called the supervisor like I was supposed to and done it. And I don't want to say it's my fault. Wow. I'm going to put a big old wah there. Um, but I think good news is, from what I understood, Gary Whitten did this and probably patched up relationships. It doesn't talk about that, so I have to wonder. But he realized he had to, at least in front of Leif.
I wonder if maybe they left it off because of timing. Like they were writing the book and this was happening and they just didn't want to they didn't know what the resolution was going to be.
Some of the stories carry on to multiple chapters. It might have just got a chapter that had been left out.
Yep. Because when you write a book, apparently, well, you write a lot and then you cut a ton of stuff. So
I wouldn't, because everything I say is gold. I wonder if that will make it to the final cut.
ego. But and seeing a lot of that is all a part of what is defined as extreme ownership. Like extreme ownership is that check on that ego. It's going and taking that the responsibility for things, and that will challenge your ego significantly because you all you want to do in that situation, all this guy wanted to do was blame the other guy. I'm not.
Yeah. How could it be? How could it have been Gary's fault? He wasn't there. They had rules. The guy broke the rules.
And think about it, like how many times does that happen in your career? Excuse me, at your job, like how many times do you see yourself doing that? Oh, this happened, this bad thing happened, it's not my fault.
Yeah, HR fired the guy that I needed. They wouldn't bring me the right recruitment guy. They filtered out the stuff I didn't ask them for. They put some weird crap in there. Why are they hiring this kind of person?
Yes, right.
And that's just an HR example, because I love making fun of HR. They know HR makes fun of HR.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Like I've seen some of the HR podcasts that are out there, and like they make fun of themselves. Is weird, but yeah, or even along the lines of, oh my gosh, going back to software development because that's where my expertise is. Oh my gosh, this bug got introduced and now the app is crashing in production. It's not my fault. It's QA. They should have caught this.
Oh no, even better. I programmed to spec. This is not a bug. It's a feature. You can blow it in the wind. I caught myself. Thank
Nice catch. That was a good catch.
you. Yeah, I was wondering to let it go or not, but I caught it early enough.
Yep. So, and all of that is connected to your ego. All of it. Every aspect of that. Because you're sitting there, you don't want to take the blame. You don't want to look bad. You don't want all these things. Like your ego is. Think about the old cartoons with the little devil sitting on the cartoon's shoulder. Your ego, for example, is that little devil sitting there on your shoulder, whispering in your ear, saying, "I couldn't have made the mistake. I couldn't have done this because I'm good and I'm this. It was that other person. It was them. They're at fault." Blah 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 blah. All that stuff. So in the end,
Yeah, afterwards, I'm going to talk about some examples of terminal ego. That'll probably be more appropriate for the closed section.
yeah, we'll wait on that.
Terminal ego is the best. Yeah, I'm sure terminal ego has never started a riot anywhere.
Yeah, never.
Okay, yeah, that we'll pause on that. I'm gonna hit my first pause button. I'm gonna hit the pause on that one.
Phil, I'm going to mute you so you can't continue. I'm just joking. Oh man. So all together to wrap this all up in the title of the chapter is check your ego. Just like sit down and check it. When you're in those situations of wanting to blame somebody else for an issue, is that your ego that is having a field day with you? Is that the issue? Like, and if it is, then you need to sit down and actually do some very deep examination of why your ego is doing that. And in the end, close your mouth and accept your lumps.
No, it's a start. It's a start. All good things start with shutting up sometimes, taking a breath. We'll elaborate this in a minute, but I don't want to ruin your ending.
We usually do. So, all right. So, probably a little shorter of an episode than normal, but anyway, we are going to switch over now to the closed door session. I actually like that. We're going to call that now. That now. Yeah. That's what
The curtain.
we're going to be switching over now. So, we're going to go behind the paywall,
The iron curtain.
the curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. Cut. Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone.